David Gilmour is one of the most respected guitarists in music history. His work with Pink Floyd gave us some of the most emotional and timeless guitar solos ever recorded. Fans praise him for his tone, his taste, and his unmatched sense of melody. He always appears calm, humble, and thoughtful in interviews. But behind that cool exterior, there's another story, one that few people ever talk about. Because according to multiple insiders, behind Gilmour's quiet charm lies a trail of rivalries, broken friendships, and bitter feuds that changed the course of rock history. Some claim he stole opportunities. Others say he betrayed the people closest to him. A few even insist that the nice guy image is just that, an image. Today, we're uncovering 7 musicians who reportedly couldn't stand David Gilmour. These weren't small creative disagreements. These were serious personal and professional conflicts, battles involving money, power, ego, and betrayal. Some even ended in courtrooms. Others stayed secret for decades. And wait till you hear number 1. It involves someone who knew him better than anyone else and nearly destroyed Pink Floyd forever. We've gathered accounts from bandmates, producers, and people who were there to witness it all. So let's dive into the darker side of one of rock's calmest legends.
Number 7. Sid Barrett. We begin with Sid Barrett, the original creative mind behind Pink Floyd. Sid founded the band and wrote most of their early material, songs that shaped the psychedelic rock era. But by 1968, mental health issues and heavy drug use forced him out. That's when David Gilmour stepped in to replace him. What happened next remains one of rock's most heartbreaking and controversial stories. Sources claim that Gilmour's career skyrocketed immediately after Sid's departure. He took over as lead guitarist, earned songwriting credits, and became a global superstar. Meanwhile, Sid's life fell apart. He battled mental illness, lived in isolation, and spent decades in poverty. Friends of Sid said he felt abandoned by his bandmates, especially David. They continued building on the foundation Sid created, earning millions, while he was left behind. One insider even said, Sid watched David living in luxury while he could barely afford rent. In 1975, Sid unexpectedly showed up at a Pink Floyd recording session. The band barely recognized him. He had gained weight and shaved his head. Witnesses say David looked shocked, even uncomfortable. Sid reportedly left the studio that day feeling forgotten and heartbroken, convinced his old friends had moved on without him.
Number 6. Richard Wright. Next is Richard Wright, Pink Floyd's original keyboardist and founding member. His haunting keyboard tones helped shape the sound of the band. But according to insiders, Gilmour was involved in one of the coldest betrayals in rock history. The trouble began during the recording of The Wall in 1979. Roger Waters had taken control of the band and decided that Rick wasn't contributing enough. And here's the shocking part. Instead of defending his longtime friend, David reportedly went along with it. Rick was given an impossible choice: leave the band completely or stay on as a hired musician, stripped of his profits and his creative say. He chose to stay, but the humiliation never left him. Insiders claim Gilmour could have stood up for him, but didn't. He allegedly chose to keep peace with Roger rather than risk his own position. Rick performed the Wall tour as a paid session player, while the others made millions. Even when Rick later rejoined Pink Floyd, friends say the trust was never restored. He reportedly told close friends that Gilmour showed his true colors, choosing career safety over loyalty. Number 5. Roger Waters. At number 5 is perhaps the most famous rivalry in rock: Roger Waters versus David Gilmour. Together, they built masterpieces like The Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here. But their creative relationship eventually collapsed under the weight of ego and control. Roger believed he was the true visionary behind Pink Floyd, since he wrote most of the lyrics and concepts. David disagreed, wanting equal recognition. Their partnership turned toxic. When Roger left the band in 1985, he expected Pink Floyd to end, but David carried on without him and achieved massive success. That's when Roger snapped.
He sued David and the band, trying to stop them from using the Pink Floyd name. The legal battle got ugly fast. Roger called David unimaginative and said his solos were boring. David fired back, calling Roger a control freak and an egomaniac. To this day, the feud remains one of rock's deepest divides.
Number 4. Nick Mason. At number 4 is Nick Mason, Pink Floyd's drummer and the only member who appeared on every single album. Nick has always seemed easygoing and diplomatic, but according to people close to the band, he quietly resented David for years. After Roger's departure, Gilmour became the unquestioned leader of Pink Floyd. Sources claim that David started making all major decisions himself, writing, producing, and arranging the music, while treating Nick more like a backup player than a collaborator. Nick's creative ideas were often ignored, and insiders say he felt completely sidelined. Engineers from the Division Bell and Momentary Lapse of Reason sessions described him as frustrated and disheartened. The final straw reportedly came when Gilmour decided to retire Pink Floyd without properly consulting Nick. Nick wanted to keep the band going, but David had already made up his mind. Friends say Nick was crushed. He devoted his entire life to Pink Floyd and felt powerless watching someone else end it.
Number 3. Bob Geldof. Number 3 brings us to Bob Geldof, frontman of the Boomtown Rats and the actor who played Pink in the Wall film adaptation. Working together should have been a creative dream. Instead, it became a nightmare. According to crew members, David tried to control every musical decision on the film. Bob, who was also a musician, wanted creative input, but David allegedly dismissed his ideas and treated him like just an actor. Witnesses on set describe heated arguments over vocal delivery, tone, and emotion. Gilmour reportedly told Bob he didn't understand Pink Floyd's vision, while Geldof accused David of being arrogant and pretentious. The tension exploded when Bob found out his vocal parts had been edited and partially replaced without his permission. He felt humiliated and betrayed. Years later, Bob admitted that working with Pink Floyd was one of his least favorite experiences, a clear sign that the bad blood never really faded.
Number 2. Kate Bush. At number 2 is Kate Bush, one of Britain's most beloved and visionary artists. Long before she became a legend, a young Kate Bush was discovered and supported by David Gilmour. He helped fund and produce her early demos, a move that should have built a strong mentorship. But according to those who knew them, things took a darker turn. Sources claim that Kate felt creatively trapped under David's influence. She was young, impressionable, and unsure of herself, while David was already an established superstar. He allegedly made key creative decisions about her sound, arrangement, and image, often without giving her full control. Some industry insiders even said the professional relationship became uncomfortable, hinting at personal tensions behind the scene. Kate eventually broke away completely, taking total control of her own career. Though she never publicly criticized Gilmour, her silence spoke volumes. Friends later revealed that Kate felt both relieved and liberated once she stepped out of his shadow.
Number 1. Polly Samson. Finally, at number 1, Polly Samson. Yes, David Gilmour's own wife and lyricist. And while they're married, it's not their relationship that causes a controversy. It's how other musicians feel about her influence over him. Polly began co-writing lyrics for David's solo albums, and later for Pink Floyd's later projects. But insiders claim she became far more than just a collaborator. She allegedly started running the show. People who've worked with Gilmour say Polly sits in on sessions, approves creative decisions, and even blocks collaborations. One producer said, "It's easier dealing with David's lawyer than with Polly." The most famous conflict centers around Roger Waters. Polly has publicly insulted Roger, calling him names in interviews and online. Sources believe she's a major reason why David and Roger will never reconcile. Some in the industry also accuse Polly of rewriting Pink Floyd's history, encouraging David to downplay Roger's contributions. Many longtime musicians quietly resent the way she shaped David's legacy and controlled his narrative. And through it all, Gilmour reportedly allows it.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.